Hey everybody, I'm doing this one in the garden because I've already done it on a bike, and my audio setup, my new mics I'm setting up for my new helmet had a lot of issues, and I don't want to put you through the pain of having to listen to that, so I'm just going to re-record it in the garden. And also apologies for the slightly douchebaggy glasses. It's sunny as hell and I don't want a headache. So that aside, I made a video a week or so ago. Well, actually for me it was a couple of weeks ago. It's been on Patreon, but it went live about a week or so ago. Called how to brake properly on a motorcycle. Make sure you're not doing this, because I had a lot of comments over the years on my how to ride videos, on my smooth downshifting video, on the engine braking videos, of people saying, is it okay for me to just pull the clutch in when coming to a stop and using the brakes, and then just clicking down the gears when they get to the line or somewhere along the way without actually ever taking the clutch back off again, you know, without ever using engine braking, just clutch in, brakes on. Now, I've done 4 CBTs in my lifetime and a full A test, and in all of that training I've always been taught to engine brake, and specifically told not to do the opposite of, you know, pulling the clutch in and keeping it held in, known as block shifting. So this is ultimately an argument, or a discussion should we say, about block shifting versus engine braking. So the engine braking method, or the way that I believe it should be done, and I still believe this because the thing is, this isn't a safety issue, because it was taught in the past. It is a thing that was done. I don't know if this is a switch that's happened recently, but engine braking is safe to do if you know what you're doing, I guess. But the alternative seems more risky to me. But anyway, the way that I was taught, the way that I suggest that people do this, is if you're coming down to a stop, is that you come down through the gears as you're getting progressively closer to the line, meaning that you are in the right gear for whatever speed you're going at the time. That naturally brings your speed down. The other benefits of engine braking are that if the surface is a little unstable, if it's slippery, it has like an anti-lock effect, because it won't ever lock. Because as you slow down, it's to do with the rotational speed of the wheel and your forward momentum. If you're going faster forward than your wheel's turning, it's going to have to lock a little bit. But unlike with the rear brake, where it can just lock suddenly, and that's when it can slide sideways and, you know, it suddenly grips, or when you let go of it out of a slide, it suddenly catches up again. It progressively slows, so it's actually is a way of braking on uneven surfaces a little safer. I should have mentioned in the video, this is a very big point, you should put a foot on the rear brake or just a little bit of front brake, just to get the back light to go on so people know that you're braking. This is second nature to me, so I actually forgot to mention it, and on one of my bikes I have an automatic system in place that does that for me, so yeah, that's a point. It's probably not as prominent in my brain as it should have been at the time, and I should have mentioned. I did actually add in a comment to add that on. It's a fair point. Sidetracked again. So yes, you're slowing down using the gears, and as you come up to the line, you come down into second, first, pull the clutch in for the last time on first, and then you're at the line in first, and you can put the bike into neutral. Obviously use the front brake at some point between third and first, most likely, to just do that final stop and have the ability to stop at the exact point that you want. But you can come to the line in second and then click it into first. That's, you know, that's not what I'm talking about here. So that's the way that I've always done it, and the way that I was taught to do it, and the way that I thought would be the accepted method universally. However, no. The block shifting method, and the way, to my understanding of how they're suggesting this is to me, is you're riding along in third, fourth gear, you want to stop at the line up ahead because it's about to turn red. You then pull the clutch in, brake with just the brakes, so you come from like fourth gear, clutch in, braking, no engine braking, braking up to the line, and then at the last moment you can click down through the gears. Some people even said they come to a stop and then do it, but that can't work, because when you get down to second, you know, you have to wiggle the bike to get it into first. Sometimes, depending on what the bike's like, it's not going to want to go down through all the gears at a stationary point without moving at all. And that's basically it. It's a lot simpler to explain. If you want to stop, pull the clutch in and use the brakes. And my issue with that is that, say there is at some point in you slowing down with the clutch in and you're still in like fourth gear, and you have to suddenly let it out because you need to move or get back on the throttle. When you let that clutch out, depending on what gear you're in at that point, it could cause the rear wheel to lock. Now, it's only going to be locked for a short moment, but you know, it can snatch. And the other alternative is that you go to pull away and you have no power because you're in the wrong gear. Now, I am very much talking about 125s here. And I've had some of the comments I had on the video from people sort of saying a few things were referring to the, say, the police doctrine book. I don't think that what the police are riding, big 1200cc like BMWs and stuff like that, bigger, applies to 125cc's. They ride completely differently. They are far more likely to stall. if, say, for instance, you're going in third and then you come down to second and then you almost stopped and then you try and pull away, it's going to bog and it's most likely going to stall. The person's going to drop the bike. If they're in first, they would have been okay. Had there been engine braking on the way down, they would have been okay. It all depends on where you click down those gears at what point. I guess you can click down the gears with the speed, so you are in the right gear at the whole time, but you're going to have to really know your bike and the revs that it runs at to know that when you let that clutch out, it's going to just go and not any of the other things, which means you'd understand rev matching, which means you'd probably be engine braking. That's what I'd see. That's just like a what? So what I'm saying here is that no, engine braking is not the only way. Apparently block shifting is okay. It is taught by the police, it is taught by schools, which blows my mind, but I'm not a qualified instructor, so if they say it's okay to do, then it's okay to do. I just say go with whatever your training school tells you. The reason I'm making this video is to kind of retract that information, but also to open up a discussion of like, what the really? It just blows my mind. I can think of so many reasons why you wouldn't want to block shift, and so many reasons why you would want to engine brake. In all of the years of my riding, I've ridden, probably 100 different models of bike, more than many people who ride in their lifetime. At no point in any of those bikes, of any cc size, of any weight or form, have I thought block shifting was the way to go now. As I say, I had a few comments on that video from people who, I'm going to say this frankly to you if you're watching this, if you are an instructor, your method of trying to correct people is not great. But one of the reasons my videos are successful is because I'm not judgmental and I don't talk down to people about stuff. It is not insane that I would think that you wouldn't teach block shifting because I was taught not to do it. It's a thing that existed, don't do that. And now the books are saying do that. So I'm not wrong in the way that I was taught and fully misrepresenting the information, as you should well know if you're as qualified as you say. It would have been better if you'd said, well, it is actually okay to do it this way, and then given me reasons why it's better. I haven't had an answer as to why it's better to not always know that you're in the right gear at the right time and use the engine braking to slow down. I can't think of one scenario where that's not better to do. So, as I say, it would be helpful if people didn't try and turn this into a game of who's better than who, but more of a discussion for learning for all, which is what I've always tried to do. And I have to bite my lip, bite my tongue, retract my fingers, delete that comment that I just wrote many times to try and help the learning for everyone. Some people have good information, they're just not very good at getting it across to you in a polite way. But yeah, I want to open this discussion up and get the opinions of professionals, as in motorcycle instructors, people who are experienced in riding. This isn't really a question for newbies other than what were you taught. This is a discussion for experienced riders who understand the methodologies of both and are experienced enough to give valid information on this. As I say, I believe at this point in time that the majority of people are going to say, yes, I would engine brake and I would not block shift. There's no reason to do it, and I can see, basically agree with me. This is not me trying to overturn the knowns, and I'm not sat here trying to say, the police Bible of riding and all these other people are wrong for teaching it, because I've asked instructors I know personally, and they've said, yeah, no, we do teach block shifting, and I'm like, what? You do? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, but why wouldn't you teach engine braking? And their answer was, because it would be really complicated to explain that to a new rider. And that is true. And to that end, maybe block shifting gets people on bikes easier. And to that end, it's a good thing. But I still feel like it's not a good idea. Hopefully I've covered everything I wanted to cover here. It's always so difficult to do that in a timely manner, especially when you're doing this on your own. You're not having a back and forth conversation with people to, counter to. But maybe there is a thing to do with when ABS became mandatory on bikes, that with ABS, yes, I can see this not being such an issue, because you can just pull the clutch in and slam on the brake and the bike's going to do the braking for you. It's just the scenarios when you want to get back off that brake and be on the right gear. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts on this subject are. As I say, I do retract my previous statement in the sense of saying don't block shift, because if they are teaching people to do that, if the advanced riders are saying that's okay, it is not my place to tell them they're wrong. I can say, in my opinion, and in the way that I will ride, I will use engine braking always, and I don't understand why you'd block shift. that's just us. And so the importance is the people that teach you, and I always try and give the best information I can. And if I find that, even if it's against my better thinking, if the schools are saying it's okay, well then I'm going to have to convey that information to you. As I say, that video is down now. It's going to be left unlisted in the description of this video. So this video can be a learning lesson, and the reference is there to be seen, but it won't be then promoted to other people to watch it, because if it's unlisted, it doesn't get pushed. So hopefully that means that the people who aren't happy about me saying block shifting is wrong are happy, because that video is down and here is the retraction and an open discussion about it. The people who are behind me with engine braking agree that I've still said those points here, and hopefully everyone will be happy. And at the end of the day, I want to just give concise, good information to the newbies who don't need to be confused by this. So maybe block shifting is an okay thing for learner riders to do, in the same way that learner riders should not cover their front brake, and more experienced riders don't have a problem doing that and very often do. Did I just open another can of worms? Hopefully not. Anyway, please like the video so it can get to as many people as possible. That's the way YouTube works. You like it, it gets seen by more people. You can help improve that even more by sharing it with groups and stuff. As I say, share it with any instructors who'd like to wade in on this and give a professional point of view. As I say, I will always stand down to a professional point of view. It may not change what I do personally, but it will change what I say to other people, or whether I'll cover that subject at all, or whether I'll leave that to others to discuss. Huge thanks to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.